Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about complaints. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, Frederick, as a software engineer, what complaints of other software engineers are you tired of hearing? I'm tired of hearing that the system sucks from people who won't lift a fucking finger to fix it. That's what I'm tired of. And it's everywhere all the time. And it always happens the same way. It's like listening to a like an overweight person who complains that they're overweight, but for some reason is not going to the gym because what? You don't have time. You can't eat less. No, it's just it's a mystery. How is this possible? What an unfair situation. And it's the same thing with software developers. Just today I had a the weekly stand up. We have so-called squads that we use in order to gather the people who are interested in actually doing something about shit instead of just complaining. And they get together and they create some initiatives and then they try to get some budget to actually do this. Time budgets from the company where you get a few hours where you can basically, well, we don't have time to focus on this as a high priority because we have all this other stuff we need to do, but we understand that there is a value in at the very least trying to fix some of this stuff. And so here you have some time that you can use by yourself on your own volition and do and go and fix something like that. The ratio of people who complain to the amount of people that are in these sorts of groups, and this has never failed ever when I've been in a company where you've had this sort of deal. So there's usually an entire company of developers who are very active on whatever channel we have where they can complain about shit that is bad, or where they want to be they get very upset if you make any decisions without them. But the people who actually turn up to the meeting and say, I've been working on this and doing this and so forth, well, there's about 5 of us, I think, to the entire company. Even when I was working at a really really large company, the ratio was about the same. There was like 5 people to several hundreds of developers. So yeah, that is really fun to deal with. A bunch of whiny little bitches who are only good for one thing, and that is complaining about how awful situations are and how things don't work. At the same time, it's the same sort of people who really are convinced that the entire codebase will just be better if we use this library or we adopt this practice or we start doing things in that way, and never ever finishing anything, never ever getting things. You get so many orphan projects or so many orphans in every codebase where you have some dude or some girl starts doing something over here and says this is going to change everything, and then before you know it, they lose all their steam because they just realize that you know what, it's it's kind of a lot of work to make meaningful change and then make it stick. You can't just build the thing because that's the fun part. You have to educate people. You have to make people adjust their workflow and all this other administrative bullshit that most people don't want to care about. And the first thing that will happen, and I swear to you, if it hasn't happened to your company, it's gonna happen. I promise you that it will happen. Once the system gets to a size that is significant enough and it is shitty enough that it's actually a bit of a hassle and requires cognitive load to fix things, the apathy will start to set in. And you know it has been setting in when a lot of the issues never really get addressed. People have just learned how to live with the pain. Like things that are seriously wrong that should be fixed and can very easily, it can obviously be a lot better. Not just some subjective little thing. We're talking like serious things that really limit people. They're just going unaddressed because it's working well enough. And nobody wants to touch it because in order for you to do that, you have to synchronize 5 teams and get the buy-in from all the stakeholders and then sacrifice a goat to Linus Torvalds. That's the only way you're going to get it. And if Linus isn't available, you can forget about it. And this complaining and like it just eats away at me, because the thing that is lacking, if there really is something lacking, it is the actual dedication to make meaningful change happen. And it's not gonna, because everybody is able. I mean, if I spit in the air and you're gonna hit a developer who can fix a one-person problem where they can change some code like just in isolation, then that's fine. That's not the challenge of large-scale systems. The challenge of large-scale systems and large-scale development. This is why, as I said, you will never get to face these sorts of problems when you are a single developer on a very small project. At scale, you will have to deal with a lot of people and a lot of features, and it's like, I like to say that it's like trying to move a pebble that is attached to a lot of strings within like basically an entire web of different strings, and you need to find where all the strings are so that you can move it. And some cases you can't actually move it because these strings, they need to go with it, and then there's a string connected to that string, and it's just a big fucking gigantic spiderweb of dependencies on the thing that you want to fix. And before, like, all of these things, you can fix all of this, you can make the pebble move to exactly where you want. It's just that you have to take the time to adjust all the strings that are attached, and very few developers have the energy to do that. And that's where the apathy sets in. That's one of this is the best illustration for me, at the very least, as to why architecture, good architecture, and making good sound decisions when you have the ability to do so, is so important. Because the difference between a good architecture and a bad architecture in a large system is how many things are you actually going to be able to do. Are you going to, because if you get to a point where the system is so shittily designed or is working so poorly, as I said, then the apathy will set in and people won't feel motivated to do anything. They're just going to do, like, you're never going to be able to improve things in a sustainable way because you simply have too much work tied into every single thing you want to do. And the best architects in the world, they understand how important it is to create an architecture where meaningful change is possible. Because if the developers feel like, well, I want to do this CSS change, but I need to go through a process that is going to take 2 weeks to do that, well, then they're not going to do it. It's that simple. And you can forget about all the Google tech talks and about being autonomous and innovative, and like you're just wasting your time, because nobody's gonna, like, you can have as many office culture practices as you want and make people as happy as you want. If the work is too great to do and it feels really tedious to do it, nobody's gonna do it. So what I want you to take away from this is that the thing that I'm most tired of hearing in terms of complaints is the system sucks, from people who are not willing to do anything about it. They're very good at pointing out that this sucks and we should really fix it, and then maybe if you really are a superstar programmer, you will create a story in your backlog that is going to be forgotten in 2 days and never get picked up again, because that's how we deal with it, because the work is simply too great to actually to do. Like, you don't have the energy to push the thing through. You're buried in a sea of dependencies to different people, or a sea of red tape or processes or whatever. All of that restriction will weigh you down, and the only people usually who will do anything about it are the people who still are either dumb enough to try or care so much that they actually want to push it, and they have the energy and the stamina to get things moving, and they realize that this is going to be a long and hard process. They can't just say that, oh, we're going to fix it over one night. They understand that I'm going to have to commit to this for the long haul. These are the sorts of people that you want higher up in the food chain, and empower these people to make meaningful change, because they are the people who show up to the improvement meetings, and they keep on showing up. They're not there the first time and then you never see them again, because that is the fucking norm. You go to the first meeting and you want to be involved and have a lot of opinions, but when push comes to shove, you are going to prioritize your own comfort and your own work over that which is good for the company and the community. It never fails. You start off with 100 people in the first meeting about how we're going to make things work, and then meeting number 3, there's 5 people left who are actually doing anything. Have a great day.